destruction and the loss of countless lives. This is the story of how it happened, the strategies, the battles, and the consequences of a global conflict that left our world changed forever. This is the story of World War II, from Blitzkrieg to the bomb. From Blitzkrieg to the Bomb is made possible in part with funds provided by this public television station, which depends largely on viewer contributions. Please join with your support. Fascist Italy in the late 1930s. Militaristic in appearance and brutal by nature, this new form of government is headed by a former Italian socialist, Benito Mussolini. This would-be Caesar dreams of a new Roman Empire which will control the entire Mediterranean region. In 1935, he invades Ethiopia, one of the first aggressive acts that will eventually bring the entire world to war. Mussolini is Europe's first dictator, but it is Germany's Adolf Hitler who becomes the symbol for the fascists. This former World War I corporal and his Nazi party come to power in 1933. 1 year later, Hitler proclaims himself Führer of the people as all opposition is crushed. In exchange for abandoning democracy, Hitler promises the rebirth of Germany, a Third Reich that will last 1,000 years. There are many reasons why the German people knowingly deliver themselves into the hands of a dictator. Since World War I, the German government had struggled under the burdens of the Versailles Peace Treaty and worldwide depression. In contrast, the Nazi Party offers the promise of a new way of life. Discipline and order will take the place of uncertainty. Much of the country's economic ills are blamed on Jews, who are singled out for persecution. Internationally, Hitler denounces the Versailles Treaty and fans the fears of communism. At the same time, Hitler orchestrates colossal parades and gigantic spectacles as proof of the resurgence of Germany. The German people are mesmerized. In 1936, Germany and Italy form the Rome-Berlin Axis. The third member of the alliance will be Japan, still another nation with plans for territorial conquest. With its growing industrial base, Japan finds itself in need of raw materials. The Japanese first aggressive act was against Manchuria in 1931. 6 years later, this tiny island nation invades the giant China. But in the late 30s, much of the world's attention is centered on the increasingly belligerent Hitler. In 1936, he marches troops into the Rhineland, a demilitarized zone bordering Germany, France, and Belgium. 2 years later, Hitler achieves the bloodless annexation of Austria. He declares that Germany has no more territorial demands to make in Europe, but soon he is menacing Czechoslovakia. To resolve the Czech crisis, the Allied leaders meet with Hitler in Munich. As the discussions take place, Germany is mobilizing 4 million men for war. Threatened and bullied, the Allies give in to all of Hitler's demands. The well-intentioned but gullible Prime Minister of England, Neville Chamberlain, believes he has found the answer to peace in his time. The piece of paper which he holds says only that in return for the territorial demands on Czechoslovakia, Germany promises to seek peaceful solutions to differences with the Allies. Yet it will be another treaty that will ignite World War II. Besides England and France, Germany faces a formidable foe to the east, Stalin's communist Russia. Historically, the two nations are natural enemies, and Hitler has previously singled out communism as an enemy of the Third Reich. But Hitler fears communism less than the possibility of a war on two fronts. In 1939, Germany and Russia shocked the entire world by announcing the signing of a non-aggression pact. The secret provisions of the treaty free Hitler to attack Poland to the east. In exchange for allowing the invasion, Hitler promises Stalin half of the Polish territory. Only 1 week following the signing of the pact, without a declaration of war, Germany invades Poland. It is September the 1st, 1939. World War II is underway. The attack against Poland is the first to use a tactic known as Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. It is a strategy that will revolutionize modern warfare. The Blitzkrieg delivers a 1-2-3 knockout combination of tanks, motorized infantry, and air power. Columns of German Panzer tank divisions take the lead, piercing defensive armies which are stretched across long territorial borders. Once the front lines are penetrated by tanks, motorized infantry pours through, outflanking and finally surrounding the defenders. Meanwhile, from the air, dive bombers concentrate on destroying bridges, roads, railways, and other lines of communication. The German Stuka bomber is designed for just such a task, with its ability to perform steep dives. Almost as terrifying as the Stuka's deadly bomb loads are its screeching sirens, which give the plane its distinctive sound. For the Polish Army, with its strategy based on the trench warfare of the First World War and its equipment and weapons obsolete, the outcome is inevitable. Cavalry units are slaughtered as they charge German tanks. The Polish capital, Warsaw, is left no more than rubble by German air attacks. It is the first of many cities that will suffer from indiscriminate aerial bombardment. 2 weeks after the German invasion, with Poland near collapse, Stalin orders his Red Army across the border to lay claim to Russia's portion of the vanquished nation. The occupation and suppression of Poland is the responsibility of the feared German SS. Under the direction of Heinrich Himmler, the SS murders thousands of Polish civilians who are declared enemies of the German state. Countless numbers more are shipped away to serve as slave labor, the first of millions to suffer the horror of the Nazi concentration camp. During the Blitzkrieg, Poland's reluctant allies, England and France, had declared war on Germany as they had promised to do. But little was done to help the doomed country. By all accounts, France has the largest and finest army in all of Europe. Following the invasion of Poland, 1 Frenchman in 8 is called to duty as the nation cautiously prepares for war. Like Poland, the French commanders are better prepared to refight the battles of World War I than the modern Blitzkrieg. The French strategy is almost entirely defensive in nature. It is centered around the defense of the Maginot Line, an amazing string of heavily fortified bunkers armed with heavy artillery. These 20th century castles stretch the entire length of the French-German border. The French boast that the Maginot Line is indestructible. It is also immobile, and against the Blitzkrieg, it will be obsolete. Germany's generals will decide merely to bypass it. Prepared to fight a defensive war, the French sit and wait. The British, meantime, moved troops across the Channel. Hitler, protected by the non-aggression pact with Russia, is free to move his troops to the Western Front. The winter of 1939 will later be called the Phony War, as declared enemies stay behind their lines, waiting and watching in plain view of each other. A strange but temporary calm before the full fury of the war erupts. By the spring of 1940, Hitler is ready for his next move, a strike to the north to capture the neutral nations of Denmark and Norway. Hitler's paratroopers secure the northern flank of Europe. Under intense pressure, British Prime Minister Chamberlain resigns on May 10, 1940. His successor, Winston Churchill, takes office on the same day that Hitler orders an all-out attack on the Western Front. The German military machine again strikes with amazing quickness. Small diversionary forces and artillery duels occupy French troops stationed on the Maginot Line, while the main German attacks come from the north against Holland and Belgium. Like Poland, the assault is not limited to military targets, as cities and their civilian populations are bombed by the German Luftwaffe. There are more civilian casualties than military losses for the Dutch. Surrenders after just 5 days of fighting. On this same day, Churchill is told the grim news by France that the battle for Western Europe is already lost. Belgium fights on, but this small country is no match for the panzer attacks. Prior to the German invasion, Belgium had refused to allow Allied forces to enter its territory in hopes of preserving its strict neutrality. Disorganized and ill-prepared, the Belgians surrender unconditionally on May 28th, just over 2 weeks after the first German assault. Meanwhile, panzer divisions continue to stream through gaping holes in the Allied lines. In France, 16 generals are dismissed. Germany takes full advantage of the Allied paralysis of command. Although they are outnumbered in men and tanks, the Germans cut an armored path all the way to the English Channel, cutting the Allied army in half. Severed from supplies, ammunition, and reinforcements, the Northern Allied army is trapped. It retreats to the only escape left, the French coastal port of Dunkirk. The Battle of Dunkirk has been called the most successful military evacuation in all of history. Others call it simply a miracle. The miracle occurred in large measure because of Hitler's order to halt his panzer troops for 3 critical days just as the evacuation is beginning. The reason for Hitler's order has never been understood. Instead of allowing his troops to finish the kill, Hitler assigns the annihilation of the encircled Allied army to Air Marshal Hermann Göring. But bad weather grounds the air attack, and again,